So what would you say that your work is trying to do? Like, if you're, going out and raising awareness and putting posters up all over Australia and all over the world, like, what are you trying to, you said there's a feeling. You mentioned before that there's
the emotion.
the emotion.
The fear that is always there and directed towards outsiders, that there's a feeling that we're the people that belong, and the people that don't look like us are the people that don't belong.
Us versus them.
Yeah, and that's the simplest way of putting it. Obviously, you can look at it in a more nuanced way in that the people who fit in with our society and obey our laws are the ones that fit in, and the ones that don't need to be excluded. But sometimes the easiest way to see those people is they look different, and that's usually the way it gets played out. And I just think Australians, I like to think of Australians as being very welcoming, and I think we are. That's when we're at our best. And so addressing the fear and trying to, I guess, just help people not be as afraid and to find their courage. That's really what the poster is trying to do on a sort of gut level, I think.
Yeah, and look, I have a real problem with nationalism. I think it's a silly concept. I think the us versus them that we naturally do as human beings is one of the worst things in our makeup. We have to find them, and we have to know who us are. And I think I've mentioned this on the podcast before with guests we've brought it up, but I actually think it sounds silly, and listeners would have heard me talk about it before, but I actually think the best thing that could happen to us would be finding intelligent life in the solar system, or having an asteroid hurtling towards us, Armageddon style, where we all have to band together, But anyway, so I've lost my train of thought there. But
you were just smiling at the thought of an asteroid in the air.
I was thinking of Bruce Willis.
Solution.
Yeah. But I think nationalism is quite a silly concept. I think that we all are, we're all human beings, and we should really help each other. But it isn't that simple. But Australia. So considering the fact that we have a very large nation and lots and lots of space, and we do seem to portray that we're welcoming to people and outsiders, as we would call them, I guess. But what are we at our worst? You said at our best we are welcoming, but what are we at our worst? What is the what is the dark history, and where are we still at in underlying racism and so forth?
Well, I don't think Australians are any different to anyone else in that we have the capacity for bigotry and racism. I don't like. There are silly ways to pass this up and try to declare, to ask questions like, "Is Australia a racist country?" It's kind of a stupid thing to say. I mean, all people have the capacity for racism and bigotry, and Australia has a history that demonstrates that, because all people are at a base level, we're animals, and we have that desire to just sort of to expel the other and to protect the in-group. And yeah, Australia's history shows that. But so I just think, sorry, I've just dissolved the question.
It's fine. That's fine.
I'm not sure making sort of grand statements about what Australia's identity is, it can be done in a negative way on both sides. To declare ourselves completely good and righteous is just as false as to say, well, there are these impurities in our history when Australians have done terrible things. Therefore, the entire Australian project, to throw it out, knock down the border, it only leaves.
Get on a boat, go back to England.
Yeah, exactly. It's nonsense, really.
Yeah,
and
it's not a thing that we could do.
No, and it's motivated by a kind of childish desire for perfection and impurity, which has all kinds of negative manifestations. So I think what I try to do with all my posts is find some sort of negotiated compromise, and that's true in, say, my Aussie posters, which features a Muslim man who lived, worked and died in Australia, but the declaration at the bottom of the poster is Aussie. And so the vast majority of the people that like the posters are people that see it as, yes, we'll make this, we'll be welcoming to the people that others want to exclude, but there are also people that just like the poster because it's using nationalism in an aspirational way, saying, well, why should we want to belong to this thing called Australia, because it's inherently corrupt because of this history we have. And so what I try to do with all my projects is piss off the people on both extremes. And once you're sort of getting criticised by the Puritans on both sides of the debate, that's when I feel like I'm doing the right thing. Because it's sort of, if you do things in the right way, those people, the extremists, they expose themselves. They make themselves look silly by saying their absurd arguments, and the people in the middle, all they have to do is just look at what's happening and go, oh, right, there are assholes on both sides. I think I'll meet everyone else in the middle. And so that's what I try to do.
Interesting.